Hey, welcome back to the Disney Plus Everyday Challenge, and today we have True Confessions. This is a Disney Channel original movie from 2002. Yeah, 2002. It's an hour and 23 minutes long, and man, it does feel like a Disney Channel original movie from the early 2000s, late 90s. They kind of have that vibe. But what they're doing here in this one is a little bit different than what you normally get with the Disney Channel movies. Normally they're comedies, normally there's extreme sports involved, and there's bullies. There's bullies in this one. There's always bullies. There's always people picking on other people. But what we have here is a pair of twins. Her name is Trudy, I believe, but she calls herself True. Everybody calls her True, played by Clara Bryant. And her twin brother is played by Shia LaBeouf. Yes, even Stevens. Long before he would ever start collaborating with Transformers and such, with Optimus Prime and Bumblebee and such, he plays a developmentally disabled child. They're basically freshmen in high school, ninth grade, and this sort of it's very much a drama. Then again, overcoming the cool kids who snowboard or something, or BMX bikes, or just let's do some sort of wacky fantasy adventure where our parents are disappointments, and then we learn to reconcile with them and realize they really want the best for us. That's usually the track you get with a lot of Disney Channel original movies, but hey, that's the kids watched them. Kids watched them and loved them, enjoyed them, and that's what you make what works, what kids want to watch. This one, since it's very much a drama, it's all about Drew, who loves filming everything with her. I don't even know what type of camera it is. I don't think it's a Super 8. It's much later than that. It's a digital camera. This is obviously many years before everybody was filming everything with their phones. This, honestly, if you had made this 5-10 years later, she wouldn't seem like a weirdo trying to, like, her friends are like, why do you have to film everything all the time? Well, because to do this in 2012 instead, everybody's like, why aren't you filming everything all the time? That's how this would have worked out. But yeah, what we have here is it's about True trying to film things, and she finds out about a competition to get their own, if she and amongst other people submit a video. It's for kids, teens. If they submit to a local TV station, I guess, they have a chance to have their own TV show, interview show, And she's like, okay, well, I gotta come up with some sort of concept, some sort of idea of what to make this about. And when she hits upon it, it's a good idea, but at the same time, it doesn't. There's a lot of angles covered in her choice. Let's just say there's a lot of things. Yeah. But what is not covered is exploitation, in the sense that she decides she's going to film something about her brother, and just the way he communicates and interacts with people, and her family especially, and how society sees him and how he sees society. And as she's going through this, she's having fights with her mom because she can never do anything right. True, can never do anything right, but Eddie gets a pass and everything. Eddie just that's the way he is, and he gets a pass. So mom is frustrated because True is always very angry with her, treating her unfairly. Dad isn't around for the most part. He's a neurosurgeon at the hospital, and when he is around, he's a little bit angry. He just sort of flies off the handle at times whenever Eddie gets out of hand, especially like at dinner time. They're all sitting down. Some of the rare moments that he's home and they get to sit down and have dinner, inevitably Eddie breaks a bowl or a glass or spills milk or broccoli somewhere, and Dad just we can't have nice things, And so it's upsetting Eddie even more. And he feels he can't do anything right around his dad. He's scared easily by his dad. And True, who sees him, loves him as her twin brother, at the same time feels that she can't do anything to help him, and she's also frustrated by him. She's clearly he's embarrassing at times. He's frustrating, and she wishes that things were different. And Shia LaBeouf really leaning into the character, his depiction of the character. I can't necessarily fault him. I mean, again, it's in the sense that it's sometimes difficult when somebody performs developmentally disabled teens or adults or anything. It becomes somewhat problematic depending on how far you go. Tropic Thunder addressed this. If you've ever seen that movie with Ben Stiller and Robert Downey Jr., where actors make really bad mistakes when it comes to their casting and the roles they take on. But in this case, honestly, he just sort of has to, let's say, Even Stevens, I can't remember even what his first, is he Steven? It's the Stevens is their last name. His character in Even Stevens, he's a little off kilter himself. And I think it's just sort of, I think he had to just push a little bit further and make it clearly apparent that he has difficulty communicating and expressing himself. And where it's funny when his character in Even Stevens is just out of control, here it becomes a problem for some. Sometimes it's endearing, and honestly, for a Disney Channel movie, this has got to be a really weird tightrope to walk. It can't be easy for the actors and for the writers and the director, Paul Hone. So yeah, I think the intention in this is really good, and they're not looking. I don't think they're looking to do Oscar or Emmy related stuff here, but at the same time, it's trying to get across a message, as a lot of Disney Channel movies do, that just says, look, this is how people can, live this life and get along. And yes, the R word is thrown around a number of times by bullies. There's also, True has a crush on an older boy. He's a guy that keeps crossing paths with her. So there's a few other tropes that, the parents don't understand. And there's a cute boy that the main character has a crush on. And does it all come together? Absolutely. Absolutely. Does it all connect? And does she, I'm going to spoil this. Does she get picked up does she win the competition? What do you think? So in this movie, she decides to go online. By the way, online exists at this point. The internet exists at this point. And I just love the dated depictions of the internet at that time, and just message boards exist. And she goes on a message board trying to get advice as to what she should talk about and how she should depict things in this movie. And she finds a lot of people giving very cheesy, sometimes useless advice. Like, oh, I know a guy, my brother has that kind of problem too. Schools are cool. They're helpful. Okay, cool, thanks. And of course, there's always the religious person who always has to chime in and explain that it'll all be good because God. And thanks. It doesn't really help. But then True finds somebody who seems like the perfect person, sharing solid advice, and also just saying, hey, I'm here to listen to any questions you might have, and how to just help. I'm listening. And Yeah, you know who that ends up being? It ends up being her mom, the person she can't communicate with. And that also creates a little bit of drama because that eventually gets revealed. Yeah, that gets revealed. Um, but what this movie does, when it eventually is revealed to everybody, her friends, they have a little viewing party and everything else, they discover that, yeah, she puts out an honest film about her struggle, the struggle of her family, the struggle of Eddie, struggle of everybody at school and things like that, the good and the bad. But there's a lot of good too, because Eddie is just a pure soul and he's a joy and he is just a wonderful guy. And but at the same time, he can be difficult. He can be difficult. He doesn't necessarily express himself in measured ways. That's how it works for a lot of people. So all the good and bad is depicted, and so kind of a mirror gets thrown up to a lot of people that watch it. The whole school watches it for the most part, and of course her friends, her enemies, and even Eddie gets to watch himself and see how people see him, and certain things are resolved. And through this whole thing, True wants to become a person who wants to have a life that's like a sitcom. She wants to make TV shows and everything else. And every once in a while, she sort of flashes, like kind of has a side flash where she sort of daydreams as if she's in a sitcom, like a standard TV sitcom. But for the most part, she leans all the way back to like 50s era stuff. She does. There's an I Love Lucy spoof at one point. But yeah, she's like, oh, I wish my life could be simple enough. Like it gets all the problem. There's a problem, but it all gets wrapped up in 30 minutes. And wouldn't that be great? But she learns that lesson along the way that it isn't it's never going to be that way. And that's, yeah. So her dad also, who, for reasons that become clear in this, he also is not available to watch it with the family. So he's like, I want to see why I wasn't in this movie when he eventually gets to watch it. And she shows him the outtakes, because a lot of the stuff that she would have used, she didn't use, involves him being very angry. And this holds a mirror up to his behavior and his attitude and his... the great thing about this covers the gamut of reactions and actions that people take when dealing with developmentally disabled kids growing up. And it's a matter of... I'm not going to be able to tell you how to do it, because I don't deal with that in my daily life a lot of times. I know a lot of people who do. I know a lot of people who have grown up with siblings or nephews and nieces or kids that have troubles like that. But they are no less worthy of love and their affection and attention and everything else. So that's what you kind of get from this. And if you have somebody in your life like that, honestly, this might be very dated. It's over 20 years old. You might still get some understanding out of it. It might make you see things that you might recognize. Yeah, it is a little pat, just the way it works out. But yeah, again, nothing is solved in the end. That's one of the things she learns. Nothing is completely figured out. Now that she's made this movie, everything's perfect from here on out. No, it's never gonna be that way. But I think this is a really mature shot at making a TV drama for the Disney Channel audience, which I was surprised at some of the directing, some of the camera movement, some of the things like that. It was a lot. It was some really interesting choices, stuff that I do not expect from a Disney Channel movie. So technically speaking, it was a lot more mature than I expected. And story-wise, while it is very, rated G, it's still it's for all audiences, I think. I think it's the kind of thing that if you do have kids or a family that is younger and you could share this with them who might have older relatives who don't necessarily know how to interact with somebody who's developmentally disabled. That's kind of a good thing. This might be a really good thing to share with them. Yeah, you might get a little bit of teary-eyed here and there, but yeah, for the most part, you might get a kick out of it. This is not a wee, this is fun, BMX bikes flying everywhere and magical people learning lessons. No, it's none of that. It's like I said, it's a very different thing. So I am going to pick tomorrow's episode. I recommend this. It's not going to be you're not going to call it the greatest movie ever made, but it's definitely something worth checking out if this is something that you reflect upon in your own life. There is a thing at the very end that talks about the Special Olympics. A logo comes up that talks about supporting them, which is pretty great. So let's pick tomorrow's episode. This huge number, by the way, is really freaking me out. This was not like this before. I don't know what I did. 85 is the number. 85. Come on. Ooh. Almost got a short. We got a documentary instead. This is also pretty serious. This features, it's a documentary. It's not nature, it's not science, it is very much society. We're going to look at two icons in history. This is called Genius, MLK X. So that's what we're watching next. I got really serious this episode. Considering all the silly, goofy stuff that's on Disney Plus, for a drama to drop like this from Disney Channel is kind of rare. So tomorrow we're going to keep going with the serious stuff with Genius MLK/X on the next Disney Plus Everyday Challenge. And what am I doing with my hands?